to sleep, open my eyes, I'm looking down. Whenever you're calling, baby, you know I turn around. I see your face, not one sound. Whatever is calling, baby, you know I turn around. Baby, you know I turn around.
That is good to go. All right. As said, now that you guys can hear me, it has been a while since we've done these kind of post release streams. I have a new studio, new house, new studio. I love how this thing behind me is coming along. But yeah, I figured we'd take today because I had so many freaking great solutions or features from the question I posted last week that I'd share a few more of them. If you've read today's post, you know that I covered the multiple assignees, the bulk user updates, the changing field types. That one is one I desperately want, and the kind of one that kicked off this entire thought process was the easy DC upgrades. Ah, yeah. I see you, Mike. Yeah, no vocals. I was aware of that. But got it fixed. Yeah. I went pretty in depth with these. I still stand by what I say behind all of them. Feel free to have discourse online. That's what makes the Elastic community great. But as I said, that was only a handful I got. These were the 10, 11 I pulled out as I was preparing this over the weekend and early in this week. And yeah, there's just so many good things here. I don't know why I changed that. So yeah, let's talk about a few more of these. I think the first one I want to talk about, because this brought in a lot of back and forth in the LinkedIn comments, was field level security. So what is field level security? Well, if you go to, what was my Jira instance? Out there. So yeah, if you go to Jira, you are allowed to have an issue level security, which means you could dictate who could see what issues. That's managed in the permissions. This is not a project that could do that. I really need to spend some more time on some of these projects. Yeah, issue level security allows you to control which group of people or which roles can see a given issue. There we go. And if you've never messed with it, you go to your project settings, you go to issue security, and you could change some of the settings in here. For secure projects where you are going to be dealing with sensitive information, HR projects, things like that, this is a must-have. Well, along with this, there's another concept called field level security, which says you can control per user who can see what fields on issues. So I can look at the issue and see one set of fields based on my permissions, and you can look at that same issue and see a whole different set of fields based on it. This is honestly a much more powerful concept than issue level security, because it means that I, as a Jira admin, don't have to be exposed to everything to be able to work on an issue. If I can see an issue, I can work on it, and then I don't have to be privy to any sort of sensitive information that may be into that. So it's a feature I've wanted for a while. It's a beautiful feature, something I'd love to see just yeah, we looked this up, um, and one of my friends, Daryl, actually did this in the discourse. There's an old Jira issue for it, and they actually go into a lot of detail about why they won't do this. Again, this is an old request. Um, they created it in 2003. At that point, Jira was released in 2002, so Jira was not even a year old at this point, or maybe just barely a year old, if anything. They resolved it back in 2007, which 2007 I was still in college. I haven't even heard the word Jira yet. Um, and this was decided early on, when the architecture was still young and still a lot of changes were still able to be made that can't be made even now. And they looked at it and said, look, based on everything we want to do, everything that is possible in it, this is not something we could support. And main thing they give is performance, which we know Jira, it's better now than it was, but even then, sometimes it still has its moments with performance. So that's one thing. It would turn the code into unmanageable spaghetti code, which no one wants to see. So yeah, field level security would be nice. Not something I think we're ever going to see. But yeah, that was one of the things that was discussed heavily. Um, Dashboard gadgets. With a few exceptions, we've had the same basic set of dashboard gadgets since I first started learning about dashboards. There's a few added here and there, but they're few and far between, and they leave a lot to be desired. I'd love to show you some of the work dashboard gadgets I have that you makes use of third-party add-ons. Unfortunately, given that their work and the kind of work we do is kind of very well protected, they don't really want that information getting out. I can't share anything from that particular instance. So can't really share that. I don't think I have any good dashboards on here. I do have a good dashboard, at least a dashboard. So we go to edit, we go to add a new gadget, and we got our activity stream. We've got assigned to me. These are same basic ones. Average number of times in status. Bubble chart. I mean, like in very specific cases, they are useful, but these are still a very limited subset of what you could get with that data. And we know we could get more in the data because we have tools like EasyBI that the entire purpose is to chop it. Even Atlassian has the data lake, which is meant to parse data better. So the question is, if they could do that in a data lake, why can't we have just more detailed dashboard gadgets? That's something I definitely like to see more of. And I said this with add-ons. You give me more tools on the dashboard for my users, you make me a happy person. It's not going to guarantee you a high rank or a high grade on a app review, but it definitely doesn't hurt. Speaking of app reviews, Old Street Solutions is really getting on to me. They really want me to re-review theirs, so at some point this year, that is definitely going to be a thing. We're going to re-review some of the old apps that I did when I first started blogging. So just a little sneak preview for those of you on stream. That's kind of where I'm looking to go this year. All right. So this one had a bit back and forth because people initially did not understand why you would want this. The ability to enable or disable post functions in a workflow. And to an extent, I get them. If you're not using a post function in a workflow, why don't you just get rid of it? And yes, if you're permanently not going to use a post function, it should not be in the workflow. That is Jira System Load, and is something you could use to kind of help things improve, performance improve. So definitely, if you're not using it, get rid of it. But I think what the person here is, and they actually ended up confirming this, was they're thinking more along the lines of testing. You have a workflow change, you're trying to test it, or you have a bug in a workflow even. This is something we're dealing with at my job, my day job, where we have a bug in a workflow that we're trying to hunt down, and because we can't disable specific post functions, so we don't want to delete them because that's a lot of meta information that's just gone. We're having a hard time hunting down where these are. So the ability to individually enable and disable post functions is something we definitely would love to see. Let's see what Atlassian has to say about this. I haven't actually looked this one up. Ah. Alright, so we do have this one is closed. This one was closed relatively recently, 2018. And this one was closed to limited demand. The thought was, I mean, look, it was open for 4 years, give or take, and it only had 2 votes. I'm definitely one of the ones pushing Atlassian to put more into their on-prem products. So when I see this on server, which I bet if we look at cloud, no, cloud's also closed. Normally when I look at these, it'll be the situation where the server is closed, but the cloud request is open. But when I see this vote count, I'm like, okay, that's legit. If I had been grooming this backlog and I saw this issue had been open for this long with that few votes, I would like, okay, this one might need to be groomed and gotten rid of. But yeah, both of these looks like not at the same time. This one has a little bit of different close, but they were both closed, and essentially, it's because no one voted on it. That's why if you want a feature and it is in this list, it is important you vote on it. If you have an alternate Atlassian account, that account votes on it. If you have friends, they vote on it. If you are active community, get other people to vote on it, because that's how Atlassian engages interest. And if they don't have interest, they're not going to pursue something. So yeah, that's all right. We got custom charts by L Street is pretty rad in cloud. Have played with it in DC. Power BI vibes with dynamic gadgets that interact with each other. Yes, Mike. Actually have a review from years ago now of the Old Street solution. It was one of the first paid reviews, not the first, but it was definitely on the list of one of the first paid reviews I did back in 2020. So height of the pandemic, we've been a few months in lockdown. This is one of the ones I played with and this, just to be fair, this was a sponsored one. So this one, I believe, is one I got paid for. If not, it was right before I started getting paid for reviews. But it's definitely one. In spite of that, I put that to the side when I do a review. And I'm not afraid if there's issues or something that I don't think is quite there, I will still call it out, paid or not. Now, if you're paid, they do get some chance to review, and we do go back and forth a bit, but that's something I put in the contract when I get a sponsorship is, look, you're not going to do this, you're not going to try and make yourself look good if you have a bad product. And if it's really that bad, I'll refuse the money. I'm like, look, we can't do this. You guys need to put a lot of work in this. Here's what's wrong. Here's what my analysis shows, but I'm not going to do that to you where I put bad information out there. That's not good. I don't like that. But yeah, love custom charts. And when I scored them, they got an A rank. And Chris, who manages Old Street, that has been burning him since he got that rank. So every 6 months or so, he'll ping me. He's like, "Hey, you got to review it. I am sure we'll get that S rank now. You've got to review it. I want that S rank." So, Chris, if you're listening, if you're watching this, your review is coming. I don't know if you'll get an S rank. That's something I decide after I take a look at the product as it exists now. But you're going to get at least your shot for a S rank. All right. So yeah, dashboard gadgets, post functions. Really wish I could rearrange this chat screen so it was closer. Um, drag and drop post functions. So what this is okay, when I want to rearrange dashboard gadgets, I just click on it, I move it. We all know what drag and drop is. It's been a thing in Windows since Windows. So the problem is when you go to your workflows, and this is either in cloud or data center. I believe this has not changed in either. I'm about to confirm it hasn't changed because I'm not in cloud every day, so I don't. There's some changes that do slip past me, but I'm pretty sure if I go in here to this transition, yes, they still have the arrows. What these arrows are is how you move post functions. This is a no. This is a really it is 2023. Drag and drop has been a thing since the 90s, so 30 years now, 30 plus years now, and you still can't drag and drop post functions. I saw this pop up on that list. I'm like, I have to talk about this. Unfortunately, when I started pruning things down to make a manageable post that you guys could read in a timely manner, it didn't make the cut. But I'm telling you right now, this is definitely something I am going to talk about in the future because it just makes so much sense. This is what I think people are talking about. I mean, they talk about how the things are laid out and how the UI looks. And let's be honest, Jira has never been a great UI, but it's the polish, it's the fine touches, it's how do you navigate, it's how many clicks you have to do certain things. And this is not great UI. This desperately needs a refresh and update. All right, so automatic. Actually, before we go on, let's see what Atlassian is actually doing about these post functions. Because I imagine this is a popular one. Let's order by created. Let's look at the oldest ones first. Alright, so that's not going to be a thing. I'm just going to have to order. Let's remove the order by and just do a search. Add drag and drop functionality setting for post functions order in list. This one was created in 2014. It is still active, is still gathering interest. Right now, the server version of this has 20 or 55 votes, which is not a lot, but it's a lot more than some of these requests, so it's enough to keep it alive. And we see, as of last month, people are commenting, hey, this should be a thing. Cloud version, same story. It has less votes. You can definitely tell it has been a while since they split these off, but same story. This is a great feature, that really nice idea to have in Jira. It's funny we haven't had this yet. So if this is something you guys want to see, again, so important you go on here. You do these searches, you look up these features, and you vote. Get your friends to vote. I have a Slack channel or a Slack group server that is a bunch of Atlassian admins and contractors I've worked with over the years. I didn't set it up. I was invited to it, but these people are people I have worked with various times in my career. And we'll actually have a vote squad call where someone will post one of these issues and ask everyone to vote, and we'll all go with all the Atlassian accounts we have access to still and go vote on it. So yeah, definitely set up your little voting circles, get the votes out. Atlassian does pay attention to this. It's not the only factor they use when deciding these. Like, I am certain we're going to see this in cloud. I am not certain we'll ever see this in data center. Just the way Atlassian is operating right now. So, but they still do pay attention to these votes, and they still do prioritize work based on what people want. So, get those votes out. Yeah. Richer audit trail. This one was an interesting one because if you're not deep into Jira, you may not even know this feature exists in its current incarnation. Audit log. We go to our audit log. There are certain things in Jira that are logged. I don't have a paid license for Jira. This is my free account, so I can't obviously see this feature. But on occasion, when it's the right kind of object, it is invaluable to help you figure out what's going on within a particular issue. When was a person removed from a group? When was a group added to a particular role? Stuff like that. The problem is, it doesn't log everything. I'm Mike. I see you. Love the comment. Yes, this is definitely something we need to get is a richer audit log. I really, Atlassian, please help. Things are a bit crazy right now with the new house. I can't just get out and get a cloud license, but I definitely need to get some of these features to be able to do some of these reviews. But yeah, the audit log definitely needs some love, and it has not gotten it in a long time. Let's see what Atlassian is doing about it. Oh, well, that was fixed of 8.8. Let's use our JQL. And filter out the bugs. Alright, audit log for user management. So this one was actually not included in Jira until, or Access, not even Jira, but Atlassian Access. It was not included until this, or last year, within the past year. Confluence are still gathering interest. There's not a lot of votes on this. Honestly, this is one of those things that maybe, as they do the grooming, might not be something they do going forward. Alright, so Mike Clark, again, see you, love the chats. Turns out if you delete fields via field config, the details evaporate. Some lessons are learned the hard way. Mike, I would love to get this story. Maybe do a post around this because this sounds like a fun story that maybe more admins can learn from. So reach out to me. You can always do contact@thejaredguy.com. Reach out to me. We might do something there because I am definitely interested in that story. I think that'd be a fun one to write on. Yeah, gathering interest for Confluence. Jira Server. Ability to change the retention periods. That's another thing. The audit log will gather until it doesn't. So having a retention period on there would be nice. Audit log for download of attachments. This one I'm pretty sure you could do with the access logs on the system. Audit log for user management in Jira Cloud. Close because it's tracked elsewhere. That'd be the access ticket. Let's look at Jira Server. Audit log for outgoing email. My God. Given how Jira emails, this will fill up a log pretty quickly. Add events to the audit log in Jira. This one is closed as fixed in 8.8. Alright, so they are making changes to the audit log. It is getting some love. Even in Data Center, which again, if we are going to see features in Data Center, it is going to be on the admin section. Atlassian has stated that. That has been their statement since I don't know when now, past year. Definitely since last team. Can't say I necessarily agree with it. I do have users ask me what's new in Jira. I had one user get very concerned that we should be using ADO. There's a whole lot of reasons for it that I'm not going to get into on a public stream, but I won't say their point wasn't meritless, but Jira is the tool we use at work. Therefore, you need to use the tool we use at work. But that's a whole nother conversation that I am really not at liberty to get into. Yeah, looks like they've made some changes to it, but there's still a lot of data that's not captured in audit log. And why even have it at that point? But yeah, those were the issues I pulled out of the LinkedIn stream or LinkedIn thread. Of course, not logged in. I have not been on this account on this computer to do a stream in probably over a year, probably longer to be honest. So there's a lot of things that are not running as they should. So let me fix this real quick. All right, logged in. Welcome to LinkedIn. I'm as the blue roof. All right. So we look at our posts. And this one, I swear, blew up over the weekend. One point Saturday, I felt like I was getting a new alert for comments every half hour or so. And I love that because this is obviously people want things from Jira. The methods that Atlassian uses to gather interest works, kinda. Okay, looking at this, we have field level security. We already talked about that. When needed, it's not going to happen. Oh, it's Dave, not Daryl. I'm sorry about that. Okay, multiple contexts on a single project. And they're talking about field context. As Jira exists right now, you can only have one field context per project. There are architectural reasons for that, I'm sure. I'm not necessarily privy to all those architectural decisions. I don't work for Atlassian. I'm a customer just like you guys. But I understand there are architectural reasons for that. But it'd be nice to have one set of options on a field for a bug and a different set of options on that same field for a story. That has come up a few times, and right now what we have to do is they have to be separate fields because that's how we do things, and we have to be very careful not to use the same name because that causes other problems in Jira when you're trying to query and search and all this, and it's just no bueno. So yes, having a per issue type context rather than a project level context would be so helpful. So make the product that much more flexible than it already is, which I've always said the strength of Atlassian products are the flexibility. So having to be more flexible, especially in this environment where they have actual competition now. Microsoft, better or worse, they will make things free to try and compete better. ADO, if you're already using Office 365, I believe is free to use. Or maybe I don't know the details honestly of how they license ADO, but I know it is gaining popularity. I'm seeing more and more people using it and recommending it, so they're definitely doing something right with it. Um, Maybe we should have an ADO comparison at some point. All right, Maxim. He had several. Remove the resolution field and add the resolution option for the status in the done status category. That's an interesting take on how to do resolutions, but I counter that with, isn't that basically the same thing? I prefer having resolution as a field personally because that means I have one done status, and then I can use my resolution to tell a story of why it's done. Is this something we won't do? Is this something that is not technically possible? Is this something that we completed? It's done. Is this something we need to do more work on later, but it's functionally done for now? That's what I encourage people to use resolution for. So yes, definitely what is. I definitely don't necessarily agree with his take on it, but it's definitely an interesting take on how to do things. This would pretty much necessitate you have several statuses for closure based on what happens, and for most projects you auto set a single stat resolution anyway, so for most projects it probably won't matter, but for those that want to tell that story, it's definitely useful. Allow flexible and status independent columns in Kanban boards. Right now, in your Kanban boards, alright, we have another comment. Much ado about Jira. Comparison between the two would be awesome. I don't know if I'm allowed to steal that title, but I love that title, and I may have to steal it. There may not be a better title. I mean, that would perform great on the SEO. That would perform great on everything. That title might have to be stolen. All right, allow flexible and status independent columns in Kanban boards. Right now, Kanban is a mapping between a column and a set of statuses. They do this because they need to know where to put an item. If you don't have a status. Yes, I'm going for it. But yeah, if you don't have a status on a board, it won't show up. So what happens when you have a column that doesn't have status? Right now, how Jira operates, nothing ever appears in that column. In fact, that column is a bit defunct. I don't know if Kanban will let you save that configuration with an empty column without deleting it first. So, I'd be interesting. That sounds like a very specific use case, but if you have a parking lot where you don't want something to progress to the next step, but you want to denote it's blocked, for example, that might be something worthwhile looking at. It all depends on, again, you got to ask, what's the ask? What do they want? What are they actually trying to accomplish? All right, remove the subtask issue type. Yes. Subtasks. I get why they exist, but I would prefer to see dynamic relationships between issues that an admin can set. Definitely ship with a set given relationship, and it could even be your epic story subtask or epic task subtask that Jira, basically Jira software ships with. But I've had so many asks to have a richer, more detailed structure, to use the app name, for how these issues relate to each other, especially when you start getting into safe and large scale agile, where you need this kind of structure to explain how this individual subtask relates to the overall product. And every measure to do that in Jira feels a little bit off. The best one, hands down, and I will say this all day long, is structure. I already name dropped him once, but it's a when you get into the native Jira views, it doesn't represent well because it's something structure's doing on its own outside of Jira. So we definitely need dynamic. I would take this further, remove any sort of itch type relation and make that a dynamic thing an admin can set. So you could have an epic followed by whatever's above that. You could have a whole array from everything down to top down to the bottom. Easily moving projects between field contexts. I'm going to dig into this one. I'm Labani, I'm not entirely sure what you mean here. This one, I think he's just lost in translation. Yeah, I'm not able to speak for this one. Maybe you can copy a field context. Yes. Or have field context that can be shared between fields. Right now, if I need to update a field context, I have to go to every, or update an entire project. I have to go to every field, update the field context. There's headaches involved. So having copies of field context or a field context I can assign to multiple issue or multiple custom fields would save so much time. All right. So Venkat had 3. I've got about 5 more minutes here. Fortunately, with all the cobweb cleaning, today's going to be a bit of a short stream. I kind of figured that. I'm not sure I'm going to do these every week. I'm going to try to do these every week. But next week is definitely going to be longer. I said this one was just blowing off some cobwebs because I haven't streamed in a long time. But yeah, so many great suggestions here with these field contexts. I love it all. I did not expect this post to blow up the way it did, but I love that it did. I love that we were able to get so many great suggestions, and I'm telling you now, this is not going to be the only post I do on this topic because there's just so much content there waiting to be tapped. So, if you have not, definitely check out today's article. I'm pretty sure most of you have. That's why you're here. Don't forget, you could always go to the Linktree link on my post or just directly. That's linktr.ee/thejirguy. And that gives you what's the latest, gives you some helpful information from Atlassian that I like to reference, gives you all my social media. Link or share, comment, like everything on social media of your choice. Honestly, Twitter and LinkedIn is where I'm seeing most activity in the Atlassian community. Twitter's kind of dropped off over the past 3 months. We all know why. I'm not going to get into that kind of deal. But LinkedIn, go, like it, share it. Make sure help people find this content. With that, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a stream and catch you guys next time.